Hey there, welcome back. We are going to talk about node-postgres, which is the package which allows us to connect to our Postgres databases from within Node. And so in order to do that, I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to call it petpals. I'm going to go into it. I'm going to touch index.js just because it's good to have a root index file. Maybe I'll go ahead and make a directory called db, and inside the db I'll touch a file also called index.js. And then if you look, this is what my folder structure looks like before I do anything. There's not a lot going on, just two index.js files. It's just places for me to put code. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to npm init, right? Kind of like get init, but npm init. And I'm going to pass it this y option, and it's going to accept all the defaults for that original package JSON. I'm going to go ahead and open this up in my code editor. And you can see that we have our package JSON. We have this default script. I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to replace it with start, and I'm going to have it run node index.js. And then I'm going to install a package. I'm going to install npm i. You could do install, but npm i pg, and that'll go off to the internet. It'll fetch the pg package. And remember, we talked about this before. There is the dependency, and here is the node modules folder with everything PG relies on. It's actually not too bad. Express is far worse. It requires a lot more things, but that's for another day. I'm also going to install nodemon. I'm going to do save dev like that, because I actually don't want it as a dependency. I want it as a dev dependency, right? We don't use nodemon when we put it on the server. We only use it locally for development. And so I'll go ahead and also make a second script called start dev. And remember, this is just a string. It doesn't matter. There just tends to be developers either will do start dev, or start dev like that. And I want to run nodemon index.js like that. Now, remember, no comma after the final thing, and now we can type npm run start dev, and it'll start our script. And it's going to sit here, and it's going to wait for us to make any changes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that over there, pull this over here, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And I'm going to look for my database index.js. I'm going to start building a database connection. So I want to require the PG package. So I could do this a bunch of ways, but I can do const PG equals require PG. This is the easiest way. This doesn't do anything yet. Nothing interesting is happening here. But what I can do is from the PG package, you can see that there's two main things. One is client and one is pool. We're going to grab client, and I'm going to say const client equals new pg.client. Now, we haven't talked a lot about constructors, but the way we create a client is by using this special new keyword in front of something which is a constructor. This will create something for us. And we need to pass it a string. Just for the sake of you being able to see it, I'm going to split this across multiple lines rather than shrinking down the font size. And the string I'm going to pass it is going to be the sort of URL, the local URL for our database. Our database uses Postgres. So just like it could be, FTP, it could be HTTP. The protocol that we use is our Postgres protocol. And then we have to specify that it's on localhost. And usually the port that's used for Postgres is 5432. That could be different, but the port that my computer is using for Postgres is 5432. And then I need to specify the database name. And remember, it's pet pals, pet pals. So far, so good. I can construct this client. I could do client.connect if I wanted to. And then what I want to do is, this is just my database configuration setup file. I'm going to export the client. And remember, this is the same as this. So I'm just going to export that. So once I require this file, what's going to happen is it's going to run this code. It's going to require PG. It's going to construct a client, and then it'll connect. And so here, if I want in my main index file, right, this is main index file, currently being run by nodemon, I can grab the client that's being exported here, right? I could, just really quick, console.log require db. Now I could do db index.js, I could do db index, or I could just do db, and all three of those are the same. If a folder has an index.js file, when we require it, that's what is required. And so there, and look, we have this client object that is passed back, right? We have an object whose key is client and whose value is the client we constructed. So instead of, obviously logging is not a great way to get any functionality, but we can const and we can destructure the client right out of require db. And so inside here, I could do something like define a function, async function, get pets, like that. Define another one, async function, get owners, like that. And then inside get pets, right, I can use this client. And we will. Client allows us to run queries, right? So I could do something like const result equals await client.query, and then the client query takes a string. So I'm going to use my backtick so I can write it across multiple lines. Select star from pets. That's it. And I could do the same thing. I'm in fact going to just steal this like that. Owners. And then what I want to do is I want to return the result. Return the result. Actually, maybe at first what I want to do is console log the result, just so you can see what it looks like. Because the reality of the situation is we're going to want to do something else. Console.log result. Okay, so far, nothing's happening, right? It restarted and nothing happened. It's boring because I didn't call any of these yet. So let's call get pets. Like that. Whoa, what just happened? Okay, so when a query gets executed, a whole bunch of things happen. The result that gets built includes the original command, how many rows were selected from the database. There were 5. And then the actual rows themselves are passed back to us as this array of objects. And so this is the data that comes back from the array. And look, our owner ID came back as a key that matches the casing that we did, because when we defined it, we had put quotes around the column name. It also gives us back the fields. It can tell us all this information about the different columns. That's not super important to us. But we did get back these rows. And so often what we'll do, depending on the type of result that we know is going to come back, we'll actually do this. Rows. We'll destructure the rows out of the incoming thing, because we don't care about any of this other stuff, not usually. We really just want the rows. Maybe we want the row count, I don't know, but if you did length on the rows, that is the row count. So let's go ahead and clear that. and rerun get pets, and you'll see now all we have is an array of pets, and we can do what we want with the pets. And if we were to call get owners, right, we'd also have a array of owners. And so this is a way we can write our queries for the database inside of Node. I create something which connects us to the database, and then I can call get pets. I could do something like this too. Remember, async functions return promises. I could do something like get pets dot then get owners dot finally, and then what I can do here is inside my finally I can write an anonymous function, and I could do inside this anonymous function client dot end, which closes the client, right? And you can see clean exit waiting for changes before restart. Now, when we have a server in general, we won't just end the client unless the server itself closes. We usually keep it open, but for our purposes of doing things like testing, we want to end the client when we're done using it. So this is it. This is how we start working with Node and using Postgres inside of Node, and the entire week is about doing this. So of course it gets more complicated. There's tons of things we need to do to build real projects that have complicated databases, but this is a great start. Thank you for watching the pre-work for this week, and I'll see you next time.